Today, we're going to be talking about what David learned from interviewing 100 founders around founder-led sales, repeatable GTM. It's going to be a good topic. David, thanks for jumping on, man. How are you?
I'm great. Happy Friday.
Yeah, man. Excited to dive into this. This sounds like it's pretty cool. David and I actually go way back. We were together at Meta for a little while, Meta customer. And since then, he's been doing some pretty cool entrepreneurial stuff. What else in your extraordinary past would you anything else you'd like to touch on?
I spent a long time at Salesforce. I was at Outreach for a while, and have done a bunch of startups. So kind of seen really big and really small. But I'm focused in the startup space now.
Yeah, man. It sounds like you've gone pretty heavy here, and it'll be interesting to kind of dive in and talk through it. So, man, start big picture. Let's dive right in. What the heck? What is this? Why, when, how, who, what? Give us the why would you talk to 100 people and what the heck? I start at the top.
Yeah. So, I've been in the work world for more years than I care to share. And I haven't really taken any time off. So I was feeling like I needed a break, and I was going to take the summer off. I was going to play a bunch of golf. I was going to travel, live my best life, and figure out what I want to be when I grew up.
How's your golf game, man? How is it? What do you handicap?
It's not great. Yeah. It's not great. So that was my plan. What I learned pretty quickly is I'm not good at doing nothing, and I need a goal, and I like this interacting with people, and I like learning about technology and all the intellectual stimulation that comes from work, but I didn't want a boss. So that was my challenge. So one day I go on LinkedIn and I just posted, I'm going to meet 30 founders in the next 30 days. And it was really just as a way of kind of sharpening my sword, getting some intellectual stimulation, having a goal, and no accountability. Like that was kind of how I was thinking about it. And it didn't go as planned. Didn't go.
And so that's what I don't know if, you and I have talked a dozen times, but it was started at a 30 for 30, huh? More like the
30, which is like, I thought 30 meetings in 30 days with founders was a decent goal. What happened though is, as I started to meet with founders, they were asking me more questions than I was asking them. So they started off and they say, hey, I noticed you, because before taking the meeting, they research you. So, hey, I noticed you worked at Salesforce or Outreach. Can I pick your brain on go-to-market?
Yeah.
30 founders, what are you seeing? What's interesting? And they started asking me all these questions. And at the end of the call, they said, hey, I've got some friends who are also starting business. I think they could get a lot of value from a conversation like this. Can I introduce you? And they started posting on LinkedIn about our meetings. And then I started getting referrals and inbounds. And fast forward to today, I think today I just had my 175th meeting with a founder.
Wow, congratulations. That deserves a little golf clap there. 175. So before we dive into some of the findings, where does this stop? Does it, or is it becoming an addiction? Because I know people who can help if you're addicted.
It's a little bit of an addiction. I'm enjoying it. And what's happening is, I always believe in the world of AI, the things that AI can't take away from you. It can't take away relationships. So that's a big thing that I'm getting from this. It also can't take away proprietary data. And so every conversation I have with a founder is recorded. So I've got those transcripts. So if you think about 175 transcripts with founders getting their perspective and being able to slice and dice it lots of different ways, it's really been a lot of fun to dig into the data.
Well, man, that's where I wanted to go next. Would love to hear some of these findings. Obviously read through the report. I thought there was surprises in there. I did a little post on LinkedIn. I was like, okay, this guy's onto something. I think there was some things I wasn't thinking might come out of it. Founder-led sales, when it's right, when it's not right. Anyways, man, I'd love to get into it. So anything you want to start? I had a couple things I might want to dive into, but what big surprises for you as you kind of came out of these conversations?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, which is probably a little bit controversial, which makes it more fun, is that your product almost doesn't matter, right? When I think about the 175 folks that I talked to, I can't tell you how many were telling me about the exact same thing. They just had one tiny little nuance, or they explained it a little bit different. But there is a sea of sameness like we've never seen, and that was really that was a really interesting thing.
You see of sameness in the way that they're explaining their message, or you mean just the challenges that they're having are so similar to everybody else that it's more
the products that folks are going to market with. There are just so many ideas to go around. At a certain point, they start to look really, really similar. And as someone who sees all these pitches, I might understand a nuance, but I can promise you that the majority of buyers out there who are not buying software every day don't understand the difference between, option A, B, C, D, or E. They all start to look the same. Your ideas are great, but you have an advantage for about a week until someone tries to copy it, and then it's gone. So what you build isn't necessarily the most important thing. And that was an interesting kind of finding I had from
just because there's so many Me Too products, you're like, a lot of these people are doing Me Too stuff. And so product isn't going to differentiate what differentiates. Did you kind of walk away with more of a strong opinion on that then?
Yeah. What became really clear to me, and something Gabe, you and I have talked about a lot over the years, is ICP. And, I think we've come from a world where in the past, the goal was, how do we create the biggest possible TAM? And let's go after the biggest possible ICP that we can. And that's wrong. Like I fundamentally believe that that's wrong. When I think about companies that I've seen over these 175, there are very few things that someone built that many other companies couldn't have built. Some examples that kind of stood out to me. I talked to lots of companies that built AI agents. Lots of them out there. And from an executive perspective, we all think about it the same. You got an agent, I get it. It can do anything I want it to do. So how do you differentiate off of that? The companies that stood out to me were companies that said, you know what? We have an agent. It's purpose built for consultants. And what the agent does is it can listen to the call based on prompts you give it. Yeah. And it can write a LinkedIn post when your call ends. The LinkedIn post is already done. That is super easy to build, really easy to build. But when someone comes to me with that pitch, as a consultant, I feel like they understand me, they understand my business, and I want to do business with someone who works with people that look like me. Yep. I'll give you like another example. Paul, there are many companies out there that are doing role playing for sales calls, right? It's kind of, I'm sure Gong will get into that space pretty quickly, but there are many companies that are doing it. Then you get some companies that do it for specific verticals, and they have a feature or two that's designed for that specific vertical. And that makes me feel, if I'm in that vertical, well, that's the kind of company that I want to do business with. Right? And if you look over history, if you think about Bezos, right? Like if Bezos were starting Amazon today, would he create a retailer that sells everything to everybody, or would he start with just books? Yeah. Look at Zuckerberg. He didn't set out and say, I'm going to build a social network for everyone in the world. He said, I'm going to start with college students. Yeah. And so for whatever reason, founders have gotten away from that starting small, niching down. And I believe it's never been more important than it is today to make sure.
Well, I think a lot of that technology, allows for, once you build an agent, why not build another agent? Or there's so many builders now you can build your own agent, so it is. I get hit up a lot. People are like, I can just build you whatever you want, or I can just build. And obviously when there's a lot of builders, there's a lot of garbage. And maybe that's where you're going. Obviously there's always a place for artists, people who can really go deep and create some sort of masterpiece. I think the technology, this AI is allowing us to throw stuff together so fast that you're seeing even more of this sea of sameness. So, okay. So one big thing was, wow, a lot of products out there, sea of sameness. How are you differentiating? You like the idea of go deep, don't go broad. What, I'd love to just, what else, man? What was the next kind of like, whoa.
I think a lot of the founders are first time in sales, right? Like they've never sold before. And so that's hard. And where many are struggling is there's a difference between curiosity and purchase intent. And so just because you're getting lots of meetings, just because you're running lots of pilots, doesn't mean there's purchase intent. And that's something that a lot are struggling with. Because I have conversations that are like, no, we're getting tons of meetings. We've got these pilots. We're going to convert them. Really, what makes you so confident? Well, they're excited about it. They seem excited about what we're doing. Okay, so we all know that excitement doesn't pay bills. Yeah. And so that's one thing that I've...
Maybe just to clarify on that, give the demographics of some of these founders. I mean, it's kind of a certain revenue size, right?
So the majority of the founders that I spoke to fall within K to 10 million of ARR. They are traditionally kind of B2B tech. And I would say, call it 75 to 80% of the founders have a non-sales or skew more technical background.
Yeah. I mean, I would maybe even think it'd be higher. You don't really see very many go to market guys like you and I running companies. It's the technical. I thought it'd maybe even be 90, 95. Got it. So that's a little bit of the demographics. Back to then this point, this curiosity doesn't equal purchase intent. So yeah, and a lot of them are tech, a lot of them I assume are some AI format. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, a very high percentage are AI.
Stuff. Okay. So the double click on this, yeah, like, I mean, we've been reading some studies and stuff, a lot of people trying AI, everybody's failing, 99, 95, 90, some high number, McKinsey, whatever it is. But your experience with the founders almost sounds similar. A lot of pilots, but not many people, net retention pretty low.
Yeah, I think that's happening. The other thing that I haven't really heard folks call out, but the way that people are doing their financials around pilots are kind of misleading in terms of ARR. So I can't tell you how many founders I've talked to who are taking a 1 month pilot, multiplying it by 12 and calling that ARR. And it's happening every single day. It's really about how much can you puff your chest out and talk about revenues on LinkedIn and about what threshold you hit versus, I think people are confusing a lot of things with ARR. And so some of the success that we're seeing out there may not be quite as successful.
That called out big time in the, there was a TechCrunch article, right? I don't want to name too many names here, but yeah, San Francisco-based company, AI, a lot of pilots, a lot of miscalculating on the revenue, a lot of people dropping out. So a little bit of funkiness there, but you're saying even just a 1 month, is it a free pilot? No, I assume they're paying something.
No, I think I've seen free pilots. I've seen 1 month. I had one founder I talked to was doing a year pilot, tried to break into an enterprise and was doing it for free. And I just thought that's crazy. That's crazy. The people that you're starting the pilot with won't even be at the company by the time the pilot ends. So I would certainly advocate shorter pilots, more well-defined. I think most of the founders that I talk to don't really, they have pilots, but they're not productized. So it's just like, okay, for this client, we're going to make a pilot look like this.
It's almost a service-based business, right?
That's exactly. And because you can build anything that they want, I think many founders are kind of chasing. I've run into a lot of folks that are pivoting because they raised a bunch of money. They did it on one idea. It didn't catch fire. So now they're like, what should we build? There's a lot of that out there right now.
Do you feel like, though, that you mentioned that comment, you can kind of build anything you want. It does seem like people are building a lot of stuff, but again, none of it's actually proving to be valuable. Again, pilots maybe aren't sticking. People aren't seeing value. I've certainly talked to a bunch of people, they're like, I've done some pilots and we didn't, get any ROI out of it. But can you really build anything right now? Or are we just building a lot of crappy junk? And so, yes, we can build anything, but we can't build anything valuable.
You can, but I think the challenge is it's hard to build something that's original. And, if you remember back in 2022, when Matthew Dixon came out with the Jolt effect, we were all talking about your biggest competitor was do nothing. Now in 2025, your biggest competitor is noise. Right? Like it's just like if I'm an executive, I want to buy, I don't even know where to start. There's so many things that sound really similar. Like I have budget, I'm ready to do something. I don't want to make a mistake because this is going to be my foundational AI effort, and I'm paralyzed. So I think that the noise is really a big problem, and it's hard to break away with it. And one of the challenges that I see is I had a conversation with a founder the other day, and the founder was talking about, well, we built some things that didn't quite work out, so we're going to build some more. We're going to keep building. And what ends up happening is people do what they're most comfortable doing. Yeah. So if you're a founder and you're a builder, and what you built isn't taking off, you're going to build something else rather than looking inward and going, is it that what I built wasn't great, or is it the fact that I need some help from a go-to-market perspective in order?
Yeah, double click. The go-to-market stuff's interesting. I think somewhere in there you kind of said people are hiring sales early. I think you advocated for waiting a little longer. What was the reason behind that? Or what advice do you give founders to know that if they are ready to actually get that go-to-market engine going?
Yeah, I think one of the hard things for founders is many of the folks that I talk to don't particularly like sales and have other things that they want to spend time on. So sometimes when your desire is to get out of a certain situation, in your head, you make yourself ready a little bit sooner than maybe you are. So in the founder's rush to get back to building and doing other things, they say, you know what, I'm going to hire a salesperson now. Sometimes they're hiring that salesperson to fix versus to build on momentum. If you have momentum, if you've closed some clients for standard deals, and what I mean by a standard deal is someone that you didn't have a relationship with, that was a warm lead that came from the board. Was someone that paid the standard price that you offer, and someone that bought a solution that didn't have to be highly customized, that was just like an off the shelf. Because that's what you're going to ask a salesperson to do. And when you can do those things, you're in a good place. You're in a good place to bring someone on. Often you have some volume of opportunity, and it's maybe more than you can handle yourself. So you have some momentum, you've proven it, and you've got some opportunity, because the thing that will help someone be most successful are at bats. They just need at bats. And it's going to be hard to bring in a new salesperson with something that's not proven and have them be successful.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oftentimes they end up doing, they want to get out of it. So maybe they get out a little early and they just give a big pile of turd to somebody to take over and see if they can kind of fix it. Whereas you're just advocating right time, something that's a little more, you've got something proven there. And now you're just trying to kind of scale it a little bit more. You mentioned this sprint playbook is kind of something that brings some of this together. Maybe that's something we can bring to home here a little bit. Is that something you've kind of been helping organizations then think through as they try to navigate these kind of noisy waters? Or what is this idea of sprint?
Yeah. So I think one of the things I realized, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and it just became clear from the conversations, is a lot of the old things that sales frameworks that we used and playbooks that we've followed, they're just not as relevant in today's world. And we're using different technologies, and our buyers have a different level of expectation and education. And so as a result, we need to go to market differently.
Yeah.
And, some of it came from where I started, where product is not as important as it used to be. And so with that as kind of the headline, I thought, all right,
right. I mean, it's just product isn't as important. I mean, that right there that's a bold statement. I mean, people buy product. That's what you buy.
They absolutely do. But if there are 50 companies that do virtually thing, it at a certain point, the arms race of feature, like it becomes really hard to differentiate. I think that becomes so this concept of sprint was born out of, I'm like, all right, well, based on the problems that I've seen recently, what are things that I think founders should do? And what are things that are the ones that are successful are doing? Anything you want people to remember, you got to have an acronym. So my acronym is SPRINT. So for S starts off with speed. So if you think about speed, if I have a meeting with someone and someone's pitching me on a solution, I want them to have scraped my website before they meet with me. After we meet, they're saying, hey, later this afternoon, if I can have access to this data, or maybe tomorrow morning at the latest, can I walk you through how your data would work in my system? I want to see it right away. The pressure that every executive is under, next to revenue, the next most important thing is, what are you doing to leverage technology to make the business more efficient? What experiments are you running? What are you doing? And so it's almost like on Friday before you check out, you're like, you got to tell the board, you're like, yep, we ran this experiment. This is what we did. This is how we're doing it. Next week, we're running these experiments. Like that's the currency that gets measured these days. And so speed is a big part of getting wins for people that you talk to. P stands for problem. And this is something that most founders and most folks get wrong, in my opinion. Everyone thinks about, what problem do you solve? Yes, but the reality is that most problems have existed since the beginning of time. It's not like all of a sudden pipeline is a problem. Like we've been chasing
a problem.
We've been chasing pipeline our whole career, right? And so what you have to be able to do is go, well, what's changed to make solving this problem now really matter? Otherwise, it's just a problem that maybe we've gone numb to. Maybe we have a workaround. Maybe we've accepted that it's always going to suck.
Yeah.
But so what's changed? So what's changed is we just had a terrible earnings call. Yeah. What's changed is we just brought in a new VP of sales who's focused on this. What's changed is we have a new competitor who's killing us, and we've got to respond. So there has to be something. And if you can't answer what's changed, then you can't do, when we talked earlier about kind of this idea of like curiosity versus purchase intent. If you can't answer that question, you just have someone who's curious, right? Yeah. So we got speed, problem.
Right. Yep.
R is results. And the best place to show your results is how you use your technology yourself. So I want to work with companies that drink their own champagne.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I can't tell you how many companies I've talked to who are just like, I'm a LinkedIn agency and my founder has 500 followers. I'm an agency that optimizes for LLMs, yet my site isn't being crawled. There's so many examples. I have a technology that drives leads, but I'm not using my own technology to grow my own business. That's happening everywhere. People want to see results, not only in their own business, but the best example you have is how you run your business. And I want to see that you're using your own product. I want to see that you're using technology as a leader, because people want to work with thought leaders, right? So we got SPR. I is implementation, right? We've all been through these long implementations. In today's world, that doesn't, not only does that not fly, oh, by the way, all of our teams are smaller than they've ever been. So I want it implemented. I want you to do everything. I don't want to have to lift a finger. I want, not only is it going to happen fast, but you're going to do all the work.
You meaning the buyer wants
the vendor should be prepared to do the implementation.
Oh, I thought you might say that they wanted to do it themselves. They wanted to build themselves. They wanted to do
it. So bandwidth is thin right now. So anything that can get me a win fast that I don't have to work for has never been better.
I like that. That resonates. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Now we get really interesting with N. N is niche, right? What is your ICP? Don't tell me that you can do enterprise, you can do mid-market, you can do SMB. The days of very large ICPs, done. I think you will never have enough cash to outrun all the other companies that are going after go-to-market tech. Just you will never have enough. It will get muddy. It's
narrow it in, get that niche. Okay. All right.
So niche down, it's easy to grow. Once you get, Bezos with books, once you get books, then you're going to go, okay, we'll go to parenting and childcare and toys. And you can do that, but start small and nail it. And the last thing that brings it all together, T, is trust. And if someone asked you the question, why should I trust you over the 10 other companies that pitched me the exact same thing? You should be really comfortable with your answer. And when I ask most founders that question, very few have a tight, concise, like, well, I have a ton of experience. I've been doing this for years. And, my thought is that's not defensible. That's, assume that everyone else is saying that. So you should just walk into a meeting and walk into a pitch, assume that everything that you're saying, someone else can say. So why you?
Interesting, man. Sprint. There you have it. All right. Well, David, it's super interesting. Sounds like you're going to get to 200, right? I mean, this is coming up and you'll do another kind of batch of learnings from that. Is that the plan?
I will. And I've started to just put out a weekly note from
kind of a weekly summary. Well, yeah, man, I'd love to know if someone wants to dive in deeper or learn a little more about this, where do they go to learn more?
Yeah, it's just be 100.
All right. We'll make sure we link it in there. Super interesting findings. I can't wait to hear about the next batch. I was when I saw the first batch, some pretty interesting stuff there. And the sprint model, yeah, speed, problem, you're right, niche, trust. Yeah, those are right, man. Those are real stuff. So before we leave, anything you'd leave what's the leave behind here? What's that kind of, we're all trying to figure this out. Obviously, you've talked to 100 founders. If you could leave us with one thing, what would be that thing you'd kind of be like, guys, if you're getting going in this, I know we've talked about a lot today, but here's kind of the summary statement or the wrap up.
Yeah, I would say two things. The first is that, when you think about what you read and what people post, don't get too wrapped up in it. Don't feel like you're too far behind. Not having success with AI. I think one of the fun things about what I'm doing is I'm not an investor. I'm not a potential customer. So founders are pretty honest with me, and I'm getting a real raw. There are a lot of founders out there that are having a hard time. So you're not alone. I think the other thing is I just keep double clicking on ICP, and if you think your ICP is too small, you're probably getting close. You're probably getting close to where you should be. But just have one segment that you just nail, that they look at you and you're like, this is a good partnership. They understand me. And then grow from there. So I would really just be intentional about the size of your ICP.
I love it, man. Awesome. Cool. Well, David, best of luck in your next 100. Appreciate you taking the time. For the audience, have a fantastic day.